Yo, it is L.A.B, and I'm here to report some sad news out of the NBA. Isaiah Thomas, the beloved Boston Celtics Isaiah Thomas, looks to be having season ending hip surgery. Isaiah Thomas was on the road to having a big contract. As he said when he was in Boston, they're going to have to back up the Brinks truck for him. He was going to get the massive payday. Then, boom, all of a sudden, breaking news. Kyrie Irving wanted a trade. And that's where the downhill, or at least part of the downhill, started for Isaiah Thomas. Now, obviously, earlier that year, he obviously lost his sister, which is something bigger than basketball. Obviously, he didn't play the Eastern Conference Final except for one game because of hip problems. And then that off season, he decided not to have hip surgery. But also in that same off season, another player demanding a trade. That's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving wanted to be traded out of Cleveland. And Cleveland now was in a situation to where they had to find the best deal possible to where they can get a chance to still retain LeBron and still get great players back. And on paper, I'm not gonna lie, when I looked at the trade, I said, man, Cleveland did pretty good. They getting Jay Crowder, they getting Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas gets traded to Cleveland out of nowhere. He still gets the opportunity to get the Brinks truck back up to him. He gets the opportunity to get all the money that he was looking for, and he gets the opportunity to play with LeBron James, which for Kyrie Irving it worked out perfectly fine. Kyrie Irving grew as a player, became better as a player. Now eventually he wanted his own team in his own situation, but still Kyrie Irving did fantastic with LeBron James. So everybody was big in anticipation of seeing what's Isaiah gonna do. He was injured. He was injured pretty much for the whole first half of the season. He came back a little bit before the All Star break, and things never got clicking. He never quite looked healthy. The Cleveland team was underperforming. On top of it, the team just looked dysfunctional. They weren't playing defense, and of course, with Isaiah Thomas, he can score. He's big in the fourth quarter. It 4, but defense, that was never something that he did. And with a team that couldn't play defense, and on top of it, you have the worst defensive player, and on top of having the worst defensive player, a player on the offensive end that's not being great, which makes up for his defense being so bad, it just became a horrible situation. On top of that, with a team that has LeBron James, that's an impending free agency, and a team that has championship expectations, everything just collapsed. It eventually just came down. Cleveland eventually traded him to the Los Angeles Lakers, to where he looked like he was gonna find a way to come back and try to prove himself, to say, this is why I'm worth the big bucks. This is why the Lakers should invest in me. He started off great with the Lakers. He scored 23 points versus the Dallas Mavericks. He looked like he got his pep in his step. He's playing in an up-tempo system. He's a little bit more free. There's not as much pressure on him. It looked like everything was starting to go better for Isaiah Thomas. He looked decent the rest of the way, but then boom, all of a sudden he had to go to New York to check out what's happening with his hip, and the news came down that he's gonna have season-ending hip surgery. He's looking like he's gonna be out at least 4 months. It's not looking like it's gonna be major hip surgery, but man, from a guy that was second team All NBA, the face of a franchise, the face of the Celtics, looking like they're gonna move forward with all those young players and those draft picks. Gordon Hayward, he was a big part in recruiting Gordon Hayward to the Celtics, and now to be in a situation to where now he's going to be fighting for an NBA contract. He's going to be having to play on a prove-it contract. I mean, best case scenario for Isaiah Thomas is the Lakers miss out on every free agent, and they just give him a big 1-year deal. At least he gets some money. But man, everything for the Lakers right now, everything for Isaiah Thomas right now is just, it feels like everything's collapsing. But hopefully, big IT4 or mini IT4, who plays big in the fourth quarter, hopefully he can rebound and prove everybody wrong. It is L.A.B. Like and subscribe. I'm out.